As a local market, we're in an interesting situation. I'll say it that way. You have certain segments of our market that are still very much so a seller's market. When we get listings in these areas and these price ranges, firstly, as it relates to first-time home buyers, we're selling them in a matter of days. We're selling them for asking price. Sellers are getting favorable terms. The transaction is going incredibly well for the seller, and the buyer ultimately is happy because they have now finally found a home that they can buy. You know, what's interesting is that as the market shifts from a seller's market to a normal market to a buyer's market, the motivation of the buyer and the seller kind of change. Obviously, buyers always want a deal, right? They always want to get the best home for the lowest price at the best terms. But in an extreme seller's market, I wouldn't say it's extreme at this point, but a seller's market like we have at the first-time home buyer price range across the Tri-County area of Charleston, the incentive for a lot of buyers isn't necessarily to get it for the lowest money possible. It's just to get it. It's just to get a home that they win the bid on without feeling like they've overpaid, so that they can now own a home, start to build long-term wealth, raise a family in a home that they own where they don't have to be told what to do by a landlord or so on and so forth. So you've got the first-time home buyer price range that's doing very well for sellers. Then you have the move-up market. And let me just go back to the first-time home buyer price range really quickly. The demand is very high among the people that can afford to buy a house. As prices continue to go up, as a rising tide lifts all boats, it inevitably pushes out some people that can no longer afford to own a home. They just cannot afford the monthly payment with the monthly debt that they currently have, whether it be student loans, car loans, whatever the case might be. So that then affects the move-up market. And here's why. Now we're talking about first-time home sellers in many instances that now want to buy a more expensive home in a market where inventory is balanced, but there are fewer buyers because they need to sell their home in the first-time home buyer price range, of which buyers are fewer, but the market is very strong. But can they then find something attractive enough to move into? So you've got the middle market that, in my opinion, is kind of flat right now. And then you've, of course, got the luxury market where we're starting to see people become more realistic about their price. I'm going to spin it that way because, yes, we're seeing more price reductions. Yes, we're seeing plenty of closings in the luxury price range. I mean, we've had some fantastic success this year. Great success stories with folks million plus. Folks, we sold one this week. They had it on the market for 3 years with other agents, and we sold it in a month for almost asking price. We had another one that we sold for 1.75. We ended up selling it over asking price in under a month. And it was a very specialty property. And so we're going to talk a little later about how to prepare your home for sale and how to get those results. But let's continue our discussion here about this local market, because what's really happening is this. We're starting to see a bit of a reduction in closings, really for two reasons. Number one, because inventory is just low. When you have less inventory, there's less to choose from. People just can't make sense out of making the move, and they're not going to settle for a home that they would need to sell and then a buy or a home that they want to buy if they're not happy with the home they can buy. So they have to wait for the inventory to present itself before they seriously consider putting their home on the market for a first-time home buyer to buy, so that we can make everything work. It's all connected. It's a circle. And so one of the big challenges, of course, is a lack of closings. People are reading into that, and that's just being driven by the fact that the inventory is just low. But in some price ranges, in some areas, inventory has shot way up. There are certain price ranges in Mount Pleasant, as an example, where inventory is up 75% from this time last year, certainly from 2 years ago. And so it's really hard and frankly unfair to characterize any one specific market through stats because of the incredible range of property type and price range within our Tri-County area. And that's frankly what makes selling real estate in Charleston so fun, especially for someone like me, is that I can sell the the waterfront properties that I love to sell. I can sell the downtown properties. I can sell the equestrian properties. I can sell, tracts of land. I can sell the first-time home buyer, a condo, a townhome, all kinds of different options that make it really fun and exciting for a real estate agent.